So I'm going to let you know when
Hey,
you're
Wolf.
live,
Oh, we are.
and you are live.
All right, y'all. Somebody let him in. Hello, hello, hello. There are all of my familiar faces and names and friends and everyone that I look forward to every day. Hi, everybody. Just so y'all know, we are being live streamed on YouTube. And real quickly, if you could go to the NWSOFA YouTube channel and subscribe, that will give you updates. That would be for your benefit and ours, as you well know. But here's the
Wowzers.
thing, y'all. If you don't want your faces on, now's the time to turn off your
Awesome.
video. Although we would very much appreciate to see your faces. So until we get going here, we're going to give a couple few minutes while I say hello to Miss Ari. Hi. And Merritt and Jolene and Kathy and Carolyn and Ronald. And everyone, hi y'all, Kat and Miss Linda and Miss Constance and Miss and the other Miss Linda. Hi. And hello William and hi Jean. Hello everyone. And oh, Lisa, I see you've made it here too. It's so good to see everybody. And again, I am calling all y'all out because we are letting everybody just make their way here. You have found your way to sharing our stories, just in case you were not aware of that one. And so as we let people come in, I would ask that you drop your name in the chat, where you're from, if you're a part of an indivisible, or if you're, or doesn't have to be an indivisible, any kind of organizing. We like to network, but as it stands currently, y'all, we are looking at a pretty nice little crew. Y'all, we're going to be learning a lot tonight. We're going to be sharing stories. We're going to be talking to each other. And Hank, don't worry. Don't worry that you haven't heard from me. It's
Thank
next
you.
step. I promise. All right. So with that, let's see. We got one, no, one more minute. One more minute here to let people kind of come on in. And yeah, I am going, I am going to go ahead and mute everybody. And that is pretty much just to make sure we don't get any unfortunate background as we, you know, we don't want the most unfortunate as my daughter comes one time busting into a room, that kind of thing. Ah, good times, good times.
Cecilia, although if you were for anybody who was on the Jessica Craven's uh uh presentation yesterday with Indivisible, she even had her teenage son
It
busted on.
happens. We
Yeah.
can't sometimes, things
Things
wires
happen, right?
wires get crossed
She's
and
like, "Hey, I'm on a call. I'm live. Like I'm
I'm
on."
I'm on right now. Like
Yeah, right.
hundreds of people or maybe thousands.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. That's all right. All right, y'all. So thank you so much for being patient with all of us. And so now I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Chris.
Okay, welcome, welcome everybody. So if we could, Sabrina, go ahead and go to the next slide. So want to welcome everybody to our 8th meeting of sharing our stories. I'm going to start and just give everyone a little bit of an overview and background of how this group and this initiative came to be. We were having a coffee and conversation, which is one of our, for those of you who are new to sharing our stories and are not a regular part of coffee and conversation, that's a regular meeting that we have every weekday, Monday through Friday, with Northwest Suburbs Organizing for Action Indivisible. And we had a group member that we were talking about how the Trump administration's policies were starting to really have an impact on people, and it was kind of at the beginning of you know relatively meaning we didn't even know what we had yet coming. But in any case, but it was before a lot of things. I think it was around May is maybe when this conversation happened. And one of our group members mentioned that she relied on Meals on Wheels for her meals. And already that program, you may remember at the kind of at the beginning that the funding for that was being cut. She was really, really worried about the rumors that HUD housing would be cut. And also because she was on disability, of course, at that time we were hearing rumors about, pretty significant cuts coming from Medicaid, which in fact did happen, right, in July with the big bad bill. So here we had one group member, one, community member that had all these harmful impacts. And I remember it was really powerful because she said something like, if I lose my HUD housing, I literally will be homeless because I don't have family. I don't have any extended, network of people. It was really powerful. So I remember because I was still kind of figuring out Northwest Suburbs organizing for action myself, and I knew that Bill had this really razzle-dazzle snowflake chart that has all these different people on it. And I said, Bill, I'm involved in our communications group here in San Antonio with the Bexar County Dems. And I wondered, is this something like your communication team might be able to do something with, like amplify stories like this? And so he said, well, Chris, actually we do have communications, but they kind of have a little bit of a different focus. And he said, but we do have this tradition in Northwest Suburbs Organizing for Action Indivisible. And that is when somebody comes up with a good idea, we say, hey, you want to do that? And of course, hey, I was like, well, I'll tell you what, I don't have the technical expertise to do video content creation and the things that I kind of envisioned would need to happen for this type of thing. I said, but I am pretty good at herding cats. And so I would be willing to be the organizer that pulls together the very talented people that we're going to need, the writers and the video content creators and the techie people and all that to kind of pull this together. So thus the group, we had our very first meeting in June of 2025. The intent was that we would take the stories that we collected and amplify them via social media. But Bill at the time actually had some congressional reps that were mentioning to Bill that they were seeking out stories of people that were impacted. So and then we knew that letters to the editor would be important. So sharing the stories via letter to editors, etc. So thus the group was born. I think on the first call it was me and Cecilia. I was getting it together to try and solicit volunteers, and she's like, "Hey, do you need any help?" And I'm like, "Yes, I need help." So anyway, so what we have done since then is we had a number of guest speakers on to kind of build our muscle, if you will, to get stuff in place. So we had Eric Vladimir, who was part of a group. She's a communications director out of in New York City, and I had gone to her storytelling session, and so and thought that it would be good for everybody to hear kind of how she approaches it as somebody that's that is constantly collecting stories, sharing stories to move to make it easier for policymakers to understand how people are impacted. Um, so this, so tonight, what we're going to do, I've now given you a little bit of a background. I'll kind of show you what we did in terms of a small recap for the different sessions that we've had up to date. So happy to have Sabrina with us, who has raised her hand at a time that I was drowning in all the different things that I was involved in, and said, you know what, Chris, I'd be willing to be the project manager. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you, thank you. But more importantly, Sabrina, like me, is a well, she's currently a federal civil servant. I'm a retired civil servant, but she's very good. I mean, she has a background in project management anyway, in terms of like her work experience. But she also has a background in video content creation and podcasting. And that was the piece that we were missing in our puzzle. We had writers and we had people that volunteered to be amplifiers, and we had people that said, yes, we can help, coordinate this, but we didn't have a video content creator. So welcome, 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 Sabrina. And she's going to, like I said, give us an update here in a minute. And she is going to share our very first ever video that we produced starring Sabrina. But hey, you start with what you got, what you have, and what you know, and I think you'll really appreciate hearing her personal story. And then we are going to try and do this as a regular thing, is that once we get through the organizing part, and we still need some more volunteers, so we're hoping to solicit a couple more volunteers to fill in some of the gaps. But we are going to open it up for anybody who would like to share their story tonight. And then we'll end the meeting with kind of the way ahead. All right, Sabrina, next slide. So the power of storytelling, and you can go ahead and just start clicking, because we'll have these flying things come in. So, I mean, storytelling, if you just hit your if you hit your enter button, you should see the flying things come in that say, stories engage and empower, and they're motivational, and they're relatable. They make hearing somebody's story connects with people in a very personal and meaningful and emotional way, and that's why they're very, very successful. So it shows how we translate policies like healthcare into things that show the personal impact. All right. So next slide. Oh, we have a couple more. Yeah. So this is a couple things that we did early on. We did in some of our earlier sessions collect stories from people, but because we didn't have our video content creators, we had to do it kind of in writing. So what we did, Rebecca, who I'm not sure if she's on the call, she's been pretty busy with a lot of different things, but she saved some of the stories that we collected in some of our early sessions. And then one of our colleagues, and I don't know if Marilyn is on the call, Marilyn Hooper, she actually took those stories, she decoupaged them onto like tiles that were like the size of the tiles that you would have on your floor. And do you see there are no kings protests? That no kings there is spelled out with tiles that have individual stories. And then we here in San Antonio had a protest on the Big Bad Bill. And we took some of the stories that were collected by our group here, and we shared them both at John Cornyn's office and then later at Chip Roy's office. So those were some of the things that we did early on with our story collection. Next slide. So this is kind of lays out all the things we did. I mentioned to you that our very kickoff meeting was in June, and that's when I introduced that 4-pillar storytelling model. And then we actually had an op-ed, a letter to the editor session that got postponed because my guest speaker ended up having a puppy emergency. And so what we did instead is gathered stories. And then, like I said, I already mentioned to you how we shared some of those written stories. And then we had Eric Vladimir, who I mentioned was a communications director of the Invest in Our New York campaign. And she introduced her 4 pillars model that, I had seen on another workshop. Then we had Cecilia Monago out of the Bay Area Coalition. And she did a session on house parties. And you may remember that was during the time where Indivisible National was really pushing that we do the 1 million rising and having house gatherings and things like that. But in addition to just, sharing the model for the 1 million rising and how this, fascist regime was, destroying all the different pillars of our democracy. Cecilia had kind of a different take on that whole gathering idea, and that was to invite people over, invite your neighbors over, and share the story of me. And so that this could be an opportunity to make connections with your neighbors, and then later, hopefully bring people into our advocacy and our activism. And then in September, we had Jody Rhine from Indivisible National, who did the Truth Sandwich workshop. And what we didn't know at the time, and this wasn't directly related to sharing our stories, it was really more like what we were doing with Vision Forward, but we had the time slot, so I invited her in. But we also introduced a lady named Chris Hawkins, who had her own sharing our stories or similar initiative. And so we introduced that's actually, I think, Sabrina, when I first introduced you, right, was in the September session along with Chris Hawkins and her initiative. And then we had Jody Rhine speak. What we didn't know at that time is that the Truth Sandwich campaign with Indivisible National was sunsetting. And so we plan to keep that alive, but through our Vision Forward line of effort. So, and then in November, we actually had Chris Hawkins from, she has, like, as I mentioned, a similar initiative called Real Stories, Real People, but she was having the same kind of issue as we were. It's just getting enough volunteers to really get it off the ground. So we considered, which direction we were going. We still support the work that Chris is doing, but we felt that we needed to kind of organize ourselves within our own group before we partner more formally with another group. So that's when, like I said, Sabrina, Chris, and I all had a big powwow and decided we were going to go in the direction that we are going now. And then, as I mentioned, on the 3rd of December, that's when Sabrina formally became the project manager. And then we used that meeting to also recruit some of the team leads that we're going to introduce you to tonight. All right, next slide. So, later we are going to ask you, because we still need volunteers. Sabrina and I are doing double duty in some of the groups and trying to get them off the ground, but we still do need volunteers. So I wanted this slide just to kind of lay out what the different areas that we need volunteers for. So we're going to have people that will write. We're going to have people that are good at video content creation. And then we're going to have a team that amplifies. And amplifiers are people that share things on social media or maybe upload things to congressional websites when they're soliciting, stories. And then, we always need tech people just in general. And but the other part of it is just kind of coordination and scheduling, because once we identify people that can share their stories, because we'll have a story recruiter team, then we need the follow-up to schedule and connect them with either a video content creation person or a writer, depending on which direction the story's going, or both. All right, so that's kind of what we need help with. So you have that as a reference point. Next slide. So on this note, I will now turn it over to Sabrina, and she is going to give us an update on where we are with all the various teams and what we still need help with. Sabrina.
Thank you, Chris. All right. Yeah. So, first of all, very excited about this project. Actually, I was in another meeting with somebody who is more well-versed in storytelling and everything, and she was just talking about how much social media and all this stuff can really influence and have a great impact, especially on people like the young and stuff. So I'm very excited about this project. I did have some amazing people who have offered to show up and have been working. We have been working for the last month to make sure we have a solid process in place so that when you volunteer, we hand you something and say, okay, this is what you're going to do. This is what we need help with. And so this is going to be very directed. And we wanted to make sure it was, so that it's easier for you guys. So for recruiting and storyteller coordination, the amazing Patrice Gallagher and Lisa Valdez, amazing women, and Chris Weldy, said it right. Almost didn't, but they have all offered to team lead recruiting and storytelling coordination. They've worked very, very hard. About ready to give you some information about where we are with that, but they have volunteered for writers. Constance Cameron has shown up. Thank you, Constance. For video content creation, Cecilia and I will be heading that up. And for amplification, Beth, Mara, and Sabrina, again me, will be heading that up. And Chris and I are here because we want to make sure we back you guys up. So first of all you ladies, thank you so much for taking the effort and saying, hey, I am going to put my name on this and I'm going to show up and I'm going to handle this. So thank you so much, ladies. And men, you have something to compete with. Come on. Let's see the men show up. Okay, so for the Sharing Our Stories project, I've basically written out how where we are at with the process. So the recruiting and storytelling coordination teams are currently functioning as one team. It seems to be working well right now. So we're making changes as we go to make sure that this is functioning at the best ability. There's a process in place to recruit stories already. So we have a QR code. We have a form that the QR code goes to and a link as well that asks for that initial information, contact information and what's your story, what's happening to you. And then the next part is a process in place to collect additional information from storytellers. So they first fill out a Google form, which is just like an online, they fill it out. But then we want to make sure we have, accurate details. We kind of know what we're dealing with and just to get to know the person and, make sure they're comfortable. And so we have email and text templates that have been created for the initial contact. We have an interview form to collect all relevant story information. And we have the method to transfer this on to the writers and content creation teams. And the reason I'm going through this is I'm hoping this makes you feel a little bit, one, more knowledgeable about what this process is. And then two, to understand we have all of this set up. So some of this is just, hey, slap that email in there, change the name, send that email. And when they respond, we'll follow up. So a lot of this is just all going to be in place for you if you decide to volunteer. The writers, they're going to be using information gathered from this initial process to complete letters to representatives, letters to editors. We're going to link Substack articles to it. And the way that this is going to happen, for all of you who are interested in writing, quite a few people volunteered for that. There's going to be like standard forms, so you don't have to figure it out all yourself. There'll be standard forms. You'll kind of go through the process, ensure that all the information is in there. And then like Constance, her and other volunteers that are functioning as the editor will then edit those. And so again, you don't have to be a perfect writer to get involved. The next team is content creation. And so here, these folks are going to need to schedule a time to record. Some of the people will be self-recording. I hope most people will be able to self-record. We do have a self-recording guide for people that kind of lays out, how your video should be, how like what you should be saying, making sure that we get the relevant points. And as Chris mentioned, we do have a video to show, so you'll kind of see that with my video. And then, of course, edit the recording. So that will all be done under content creation. And there isn't like, I don't think there'll be a ton of editing on the early end with these 60 to 90-second videos. But eventually, I do expect that to be a more important role as we move into other things like podcasting. And then once we've got the recording, we've got to edit it, it's ready to go, we'll transfer that on to the amplification team. And this is where you're going to add hashtags, any relevant links, any closed captioning that we want to show. And then just making sure everything's ready to go and then publishing it to the social media accounts. We will likely be planning to coordinate amplification. So here, I think it was Chris who said like it's better like in the first 30 minutes or something to get a bunch of attention on that video. So we'll try to coordinate efforts with not just the sharing our story folks, but even NWSOFA at large to make sure we get a lot of interaction, a lot of views, likes, all that kind of stuff. And so basically what we did first was we created the process using my story. I said it would be complete in 1 to 2 weeks. It'll be published in 1 to 2 weeks. It's pretty much done at this point. We currently do have people waiting to tell their stories. So I really want to get going now that we have the process in place and we kind of know how to manage this from person to person. It'll be very standardized. And then we're going to work also on a network of individuals to recruit stories. So while we can use the QR codes and absolutely anybody who individually meets people or at protests or whatever, we're going to have that QR code sticking out there saying, hey, if you have a story. But there have been other contacts already of people who, like an organizer in a protest organizer in Massachusetts who has, a weekly protest at an ICE detention center, and like 500 people a week show up to that. And he's connected with some immigrants and stuff. So there's going to be some networking too, where we're going to have individuals that are going to have lots of contacts for stories. So that's kind of like the next step after the QR. So we're kind of moving in that direction. And then podcasting will really be probably the next step that we introduce into sharing our stories, because we'll already have the writing piece included. We'll already have the video piece included. So podcasting is kind of the next obvious step. More about that later. I won't get into too much of that right now because that really is still very early in the development. But there is plenty of opportunities to get involved. Getting involved on the ground floor helps ensure, your opinions or thoughts are heard. And I think this is going to be a really exciting and really impactful project. So I highly encourage anybody who's interested in any part of this process to let me know. We do have the links and stuff. Let me see. There we go.
And hey, Sabrina, let me kind of interrupt here just for a minute. So Hank, because this really relates to the conversation you and I had earlier today in our call. So Hank has a question in the chat saying, it's not clear to me what the writers are doing in the overall process. And this is the part that I think you'll relate to. Is there anyone who collaborates with those who are telling their stories to help hone and maximize the impact? And you had a connection, or you found a resource to help us with that. So this might be the time to.
Yeah. So, are you referring to the Genius Project?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, but yeah, well, go ahead and just answer his question, and then you can kind of share whatever you want related to that.
So, I totally agree. We do need to make sure that these messages are honed, that they are impactful. So there's a couple of different things that are happening there. One, especially with the stories where it seems like the person is struggling to condense it, that's where writers are going to come in really helpful, because they're going to be more useful at condensing a story, probably than anybody else on the team. But the other thing is like we have a social media expert via somebody in the group who is going to be helping us out as well. And if we have questions about amplification or any of those kinds of things, she is willing to help us out. And what else? I feel like I'm missing something, Chris.
No, I think you got it. Hank,
Okay.
did that answer your question?
Oh, hold on. There, I asked you to unmute. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not working. Do you see an ask to unmute, Hank? Oh, there you were, but then you went back. Ask to unmute.
I'm hitting unmute. Yeah,
There we go.
no, it does. I'm looking forward to hearing more, practically, of how that will work, but that's great. That's great. So,
Right. And so I totally understand that. And that's why I have team leads. they're not all necessarily experts in their area, but they know how to figure it out. And honestly, Constance is actually going to be the team lead for the writers, and she has her hand up. So I'm going to go ahead and let her talk. See if she has anything to add.
Yeah, Hank, I think you really immediately got to the nub of asking the question, how does this writing piece work? And I think that there are two layers of the writing process. One is the writers like yourself would take information about who is doing the video or sharing their story in any way, shape, or form, write it up. As Sabrina said, condensing is important because it's natural for people to say more than it's possible to communicate. So condense it. You share it with me. I have a conversation with you about that's good. How about a little more here or a little less there, sort of thing, and we collaborate on that. Is my understanding. So.
Good.
It's not just you're on your own, you're out on a limb doing this all by yourself, sort of thing.
Good.
Okay. All right. Good.
Okay.
And Sabrina, before we move on, since we just introduced one of our team leads, Constance, what I'd like to also do is Lisa Valdez is on the call. Can you just say hi just so everybody can see you and has a face with a name?
Do you see her?
Let me see if she's in.
I got her.
You got her? Okay.
Yeah, I clicked. Oh, Lisa.
Actually, Lisa, raise your hand, and then then we'll be able to find you in the group.
Well, I'm clicking. I don't know why when I click ask to unmute, it's not working very well. Maybe she had to walk away for a second.
Okay, yeah, because I don't. Oh, okay, I do see her, but yeah, I don't know if she's.
That's okay. Cecilia. Here we go.
Hello.
Cecilia is our team lead for content creation. Well, co-lead. I'm working with her. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Cecilia English. I am let's see here. I am the lead organizer of Eastern Illinois Indivisible in KZ, Illinois. I am also on the leadership committee of NWSOFA, and I am a member of the board of Indivisible Illinois. I have a background in theater. I have a background in being obnoxiously in your face and easy to talk to. People just come up to me and tell me their life story. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Cecilia.
Yeah.
Cecilia and I went to high school together.
I know, isn't that crazy? What about Patrice? I'm not sure if she's on. I haven't seen her, but Patrice would be the next one that we could introduce if she's on.
I'm not seeing her.
Okay, so then the only other. Oh, Beth.
Beth is on, yeah.
Beth,
That's right.
raise your hand.
Katharina. So she raises her actual hand.
So,
Hi, Beth. Beth is
hi,
recently
I'm Beth
agreed.
from NWSOFA. I am the Welcome Ambassador, and I also belong to an Indivisible group in Southeast Michigan, Downriver United 734. I give shout outs, and I am I don't know, I'm just happy and excited to be able to amplify and help Sabrina and Chris.
Yeah,
Cecilia.
and Beth is pretty active on social media. I know this because we are sometimes on social media at 2:00 in the morning together. So anyway, and then Lisa, I wonder if Lisa is back. So Lisa Valdez, are you back to where we can have you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself? No, okay, maybe not.
That's okay.
All righty. Okay,
You
back
guys
to Sabrina.
get to know all these wonderful women soon.
Yeah.
Okay, So I did post the sharing our stories link if you have a story to share, and I also did the volunteer sign up in the chat if you are interested. All right. Oh, we're to the backup slides. Okay. So the next thing I want to do, I'm going to give me 1 second. I used to just share. Hey, buddy. I used to just share my whole screen and people are like, don't do that anymore. So I'm getting used to not doing it. Okay. And here we go. Next, I'm going to share my story and just kind of give you guys like an idea of what this is going to look like when we're doing these, like I said, 60, 90 seconds targeted story. My name is Sabrina, and I have a son with profound autism. And I'm here to talk about my concerns with Congress's cuts to Medicaid, Social Security, and Medicare. Because of my son's disability, he will never work. He will never live on his own. And because of that, I need support from the community, meaning the government and the citizens of this country. And with all these cuts, I'm really concerned that I won't be able to pay for his treatments, that I won't be able to pay for his therapies, his housing. There's a lot of things that could happen. And the thing is, my son has been very violent in the past. And there is a real possibility that I will have to put him somewhere where he can better be cared for. And again, he's 17 years old now, and I don't know what that's going to look like if there are severe cuts to all of these programs that I planned on helping him live. And the worst part is that one day I'll be gone, and I really don't know what I'll do then. Hi, my name is Sabrina. Okay. Oh, don't need to hear it twice. So that is similar to what we would be looking at. Something along those lines. This isn't necessarily perfect. I might have skimmed a little and did this without any editing, but you'll see here, the hashtags are going to be important. Any links and other possible social media accounts, like it's not as easy on TikTok, but like with YouTube and stuff. And so that's the goal there. And to continually get these kind of videos where people are talking about, the Trump policies and how it is negatively impacting them. I'm going to stop right now and just ask if there are any questions or anything at all before we move on. Okay. Yeah.
Beth is like,
Okay.
do you see her, Sabrina? Did you
Yeah,
unmute her?
I
Okay.
got it. Okay, yeah.
So I just wanted to let you guys know that I shared the sign up sheet thing with some of my groups in Michigan. So just to let everybody here know that if you can download that and share it to any of your social media friends or groups too, if you think they have a story, I'm sure that we will want as many stories as we can get. So that's all.
Thank you. That's
You're
great.
welcome.
Really good advice. All right. Oh, Constance, you're already unmuted.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I thought you did a very good video, and what's most compelling is that the person is just very upfront, kind of right away, what your issue is, what your problem is, how your life is being affected, and why the what the government is doing has can make a tremendous difference in your life somehow. And I thought that really got across. And I would just say to the writers, that's what we have to do, is make sure we capture the essence of that person's story, um, And I'll put together a little writing guide for, just things to think of when you're writing, like using the active voice and a variety of sentence lengths and that sort of thing. So, but I thought that you did a very good job, Sabrina, in telling your story, and it gives us, we the writers, something good to work with.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. And that's what I'm hoping, is that seeing it will help like kind of crystallize in your mind what we're going for. And then, of course, Constance is going to branch that out a lot with the writing piece and like I said, the podcast eventually too. So I'm very excited about this. I think this is going to be a very effective tool for having an impact. Anybody else? I'll lower your hand so I don't get confused. Okay. Chris, do you want to handle the next piece? Or do you want me to do it? I don't care.
Yeah, it's just the way ahead and asking for the volunteers. So it's the yeah. Do you have the next slide? Well, and we don't even need the slides. Don't worry about it if it, yeah. So essentially, what the way ahead is that we need more volunteers to fill out some of these teams. And Sabrina earlier put the volunteer sign up form in the chat. But in addition to that, we would like for anybody who either has a story to share or might pass along the link to, to their friends. So, help us find stories basically. And that link is also in the chat. And because we are supporting Chris Hawkins, who's going through a similar initiative, we also put in the chat or actually, I think it might be on the slides, not necessarily in the chat, but liking her YouTube channel, Real People, Real Stories, as she's trying to kind of work a parallel initiative similar to this. And we told her she already has some video content that she pulled together from protests as she's trying to get together her team. And that's really all we have for tonight. And then we were going to open it up, right, just for anybody who, well, first, let's see if anybody has any questions. I'll turn it back to Sabrina and she can field any questions that people have.
Beth, did you have one? I thought you
Yeah,
raised.
so Beulah was asking if she could tell someone else's story. And Laura was asking if you could add the volunteer sheet in again because she came late.
I'm putting them both in there now.
Thank you.
Yeah, and tonight we're going to be really informal, so I'll answer the Beulah question. So sure, I mean, if you have someone that's been impacted and you want to kind of share their story, we know we have a little bit of time left, so yeah, so we wanted to just open it up, and then maybe even having people share their story might, I don't know, spur something that you say, actually, now that I think about it, I do have a story to share because we all have stories to share. Or I know someone that has been impacted. So, and then it looks like Kathy. So I guess this was bad facilitator thing on behalf of Chris. So for so Kathy and Beulah, are your hands up because you have questions? Or are
Yeah,
and you can just put it in the chat or say it. Are you unmute? Is everybody unmuted now?
I'm Kathy, and this is my first time checking in on this evening. And I'm with NWSOFA-Indivisible, and we are having a holiday get together in about 10 days, and a lot of leadership, but other people too. And so I guess my question is, if I just send them, I'd have the link in my phone and then I could send that to them. Is that the best way that people are, in case they said, oh, I have a story, or, I have a relative who has a story. I think it might be a very good group to get some stories because they are very active and they're out there and they're hearing from people.
We also have a QR code, Kathy, and we can drop that in the chat as well. Because if you're out and about, I don't know what's easier for you to carry around the link to the link, or if it's easier just for you to have the QR code on your phone. But we can
Yes.
drop that in the chat too, and that takes them right to the storytelling page.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. I just want to find an easy way that I could connect with some people that really might have some stories.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
This is Beulah Odom. I was just wanting to know, do we need to, when is the best time to share your story? I was thinking in terms of not sharing my story until I have a solution. And I know that I mentioned it earlier in the latter part of 2025 in regard to me getting a cut in my Social Security, but I have not gotten it rectified yet. So I wanted to know, at what point do you share your story? Do we want people to wait until they get a conclusion or resolution to whatever their situation is?
No, Beulah, we want to hear from anybody that's impacted.
Yeah.
So because for some, there is no resolution until they reinstate the funding for the program that was cut. So if you have a story to share, and you can kind of, if you want, you can work, because we're going to be opening up the floor. If we're done with questions, we're going to be opening it up for anybody who would like to share a story tonight. Just again, to kind of practice that, having that conversation. But you're welcome to do that tonight, but then you also can follow up formally, like just with the sign up that Sabrina dropped in the chat.
Additionally, Sabrina, I feel for you. I was asking about telling someone else's story. I've got to get permission to the point of calling people's name. But this is in my own family. I have a nephew that's autistic, and he's 30 years old now. And his mom had to pay back $7,000 to Medicaid, and because she turned around and got a job working for the federal government. So we haven't got that rectified and don't understand it as of yet, because he's 30. And so his Social Security or his Medicaid is on him, not her. But she had to pay back $7,000.
That is not okay. And honestly, I understand how she could get into that situation, because there are like so many weird rules about, because like your kid is with you, because when, I don't know if people know this, when disabled children are young, if you apply for disability, they absolutely include your income in it. And so I haven't been able to get a dime out of them because I make too much money. But what comes with it, I believe automatically in Florida, I don't know if it's true anywhere else, is Medicaid comes with it. So but if he lives with her, and the rules are ridiculous. It's so hard. It's so hard to get help. And then to have to
They
pay
make
it
you
back.
they make you jump through hoops, and then they make you jump through them again every single year to keep it up. I'm sorry.
No,
Um,
I agree.
Beulah, we want your story also,
Yes.
because we want to keep track of how you progress. We want to keep track of all of
Family
this.
member want to take up the banner.
Yeah.
I can relate to you in regard to the actions of your son, because my nephew, he has the strength of 10 men whenever he gets upset. And I mean, my brothers and stuff, I have 5 brothers, and I mean, they have not been able to control him at times.
Yeah. I believe that my son has aggressive tendencies and has been very aggressive in the past. And yeah, they're like a bull. It's frightening, honestly, because this isn't a person whose intention is always like there. They don't communicate well. This is how they communicate, by hitting you, because you didn't understand the last 3 times that what they wanted was the chocolate ice cream and not the vanilla.
I'm a psychologist by profession, and my niece has talked to me numerous times about, she's come to me in tears and asking what should she do. And I told her, I said, you continue to do what you're doing. You fight the good fight, because you're doing all that you can for him.
Hey, Beulah,
quite a
we're
few
having,
times.
oh.
I'm through. I'm just.
Oh,
I just,
no. You were fading and it was almost like your internet was, we couldn't hear you for a minute, but we hear you now. Hey, I was gonna tell you guys, but thank you, Beulah, for sharing, that you could just having conversations with people. I was at the dollar store the other day because I go to volunteer with our, for the ice processing center, and I was buying things for the kids because we realized that we were having more and more kids show up, so we wanted to have stuff available for them. And as I was checking out of the line, in fact, Laura Gabler, who's on the call, knows this because she was waiting for me to get back to her. And I said, yeah, I'm just going to go into the dollar store for about 15 minutes and then I'll be back and I'll call you back on whatever her question was. And so what happened is, as I was checking out of the line, there was a woman there and she was trying to use some sort of payment app that was different from like a credit card, but you needed internet to do it. And they didn't have internet in the store, so I offered to stay there until she made it through the line and she could use my cell phone as her hotspot so she could, so she could connect. So basically, she paid and everything, for her, it was actually a gift card she was buying for her niece. And she was basically, saying that, she had to buy a gift card because she didn't get a paycheck for another couple of weeks. And so, so this was kind of the way she had to do it, right? So anyway, as we were leaving the store, I said, well, she said, oh, thank you so much. So, for waiting for me. And I said, oh, well, I just really want to make sure your niece gets her birthday present or whatnot. And then she said, oh gosh, if you only knew. And then she started telling me, I mean, she had this amazing, but so sad, such a story, where her mom had an allergic, and her mom lives with her. Her mom had an allergic reaction. They thought she might have a UTI, but they gave her an antibiotic that she had an allergic reaction to, a severe allergic reaction. And was going, I guess, was eligible for, the husband, I guess, was previously in the military, but has since is deceased. Anyway, what happened was she had such a serious reaction that she ended up almost dying and needing to be in the hospital for 18 days, where that's my dog. Stop doing that. Where she lost the ability to walk. And ultimately, the woman who I spoke to, said that she had to quit her job. She's now $20,000 in debt, and is living literally off of her savings. And this is how it happens. People, our healthcare. So she started telling me how complex it was and how the doctor wouldn't fill out the paperwork that she needed to do. So some of this stuff could be covered because nobody wanted to get involved. And I wish I had met her earlier because I would have shown her how to work the system through filing a congressional and all those other kinds of things. But it just showed how fragmented and disjointed our healthcare system is, that literally it can take somebody who was full-time and working and had to then quit her job, and then had no source of income. And then she was, yeah, anyway. So the stories are there just because there are so many people impacted by what is going on. So, anyway, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, share the QR code, share the link. And we still have a little bit of time. So does anybody else have something they want to share with the group?
would ask, can we use also prompts? The prompts, the dog punch it and get one. Then you get sent to two, and then you get sent to three, and then you put your four, and then they hit the that's my experience with this Social Security stuff.
Oh, you're talking about, well,
Yeah.
but Beulah, let me tell you why that's really relevant now. In fact, it's already hitting the news here in San Antonio. Is one of the ways that they are saving money is they're cutting the number of people that do customer service with Social Security, right?
You
So
have to make an appointment. I have to
So
make an appointment.
exactly. And I've heard of people say that they used to be able to walk in and now they can't walk in. So again, this is how those cuts, I don't know if you all remember this, but they were going to go to completely like get rid of even telephone customer service. And then there was such pushback, and they were getting ready to do everything online because of course they had Elon Musk who's giving them advice during the whole Doge cuts, right? And he's like, oh, we don't need to do customer service this way. We can do it all automated. But of course, you can't do it all automated when you have people that are in their 70s and 80s and 90s, right, that rely on these services. And think about it, some people don't are unhoused, right? They don't even have internet. They don't even have a cell phone, right? So, this is where the good ideas of Elon Musk, billionaire, trillionaire, right? Don't like they can't even imagine what life is like for people who, are less privileged. I mean, I met a woman at I have a Braver Angel group in Austin, and I met a woman. So we went to a village. It's called Community First, and it's for people who were formerly unhoused. And basically that was her story. She literally went from being a full-time working person to living on the streets. Literally living on the streets because of medical debt. Um, and a very, very serious, neurological or autoimmune, I think it was autoimmune, that went undiagnosed to the point where, she was just in constant chronic pain and just didn't have like a safety net of family that could help her. So anyway, she has a house now, a little tiny home, and she's in kind of a little bit of a leadership role within this community. But not, this was all done by somebody who was a philanthropist. It wasn't even done by any formal state or, city, program. Anyway, anyone else have something to share? Or if you don't have a story, even a comment, anybody just have something that they want to share with a group, comment on with a group. And if you
Think
do,
that
raise your hand.
with the Social Security that they're trying to discourage. I mean, with all these prompts, you get to the point and say, hell with it, and hang up. I
Yeah.
have been online and looked at my time, and I say, okay, I've been on hold 24 minutes.
Yeah.
And
I
I
was on a call the other day to I probably shouldn't even say this, but I was on the phone to Homeland Security because it was suggested that maybe we might want to tie up their lines. This is, so with the ice and stuff. Literally, I stayed on the line for an hour. Okay, and this was supposed to be the line that you call if you have an ice sighting. And nobody even picked up the call. But I don't know that Richard has his hand up, and Ronald, I thought you did too, but maybe you changed your mind. Or I thought somebody else
It was
did. But
Hank Greenspan.
Yeah.
oh, Hank, oh, sorry, Hank Greenspan. So from my end, it looks like Richard's hand is up first, but if somebody sees something different, can you guys, oh, it is Hank. Okay, Hank, go ahead and unmute yourself here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I hesitate because I'm this is probably not the place to get into this much. I just think it may be useful, I want to put it that way, to be aware that storytelling and stories don't necessarily hit anybody. I mean, they don't, to really hook, because it's very easy in my experience, and I've been kind of involved in such projects for decades, to be put into the oh yeah, another story. Oh yeah, they're whiners. Oh yeah, they're whatever. So what I'm saying is we don't want to put words in people's mouths, obviously, but it takes a lot of self-consciousness. It takes experience. It takes a certain kind of craft, which again is not making puppets out of people. But I think, I mean, as just a tiny example of many, like there's a story of what people are worried about. And God knows we're all worried about things. There's also stories about shit that's happened already. Or there's stories about waking up in the middle of the night, having a nightmare about what could happen, and then discovering, damn it, it actually happened. Right? Now, the third version of, which I'm just making up, right? Although God knows it happens, has a different kind of hook, I think, in terms of what impacts people than the person who is worrying about what might happen, or even the person who is feeling like shit about what has happened. But the combination of worry plus reality, and that's just one example of many in terms of how to think about possibly the ways some of these accounts may be framed, that may be most likely, or one version of what may be most likely to engage people who too easily perhaps would sort of gloss over, um, uh, etc. Anyway, there are lots of those kinds of things. So I'm just suggesting that I'm hoping it'll be useful for those involved to sort of think about that kind of dimension. We said, Constance, earlier, present tense, past tense, future tense, combo tenses. Um, I think, telling other stories can be extremely, sometimes people aren't here to tell their stories, either because they're in a facility somewhere, or they're dead, or they literally can't speak. They've been muted by whatever has happened to them. So I think it's sometimes quite effective, effective meaning powerful and real, to tell someone else's story, particularly if part of that story is they can't be here to tell it. Now, this is just one of or two of a zillion examples of the kind of thing that may be useful. That's all.
Thank you for that. Yeah, one of the things that we're doing is we have a number of different people that we're working with and consulting with. One of our group members, Patrice, is has a I'm trying to think. You may be familiar with Greg Pallas. He's an investigative reporter. He does interviewing and all the time. And so Sabrina, me, and Patrice all met with him. He had a chance to look at some of the, kind of go through some of the stories that we had initially collected and provide guidance. Now, here's the interesting thing that was his perspective, is that I was all worried about this technical editing and things like that. And what he said is, literally, as an investigative journalist, he showed us how most of his effective story things were very organic and literally just, pointing a camera. And he gave us some advice on camera angles and how closely you would want to be to the person when you're having the conversation. But I appreciate your comment, and we are, obviously
Yeah.
soliciting guidance and help from people that have done this, professionally. And I have to say, for me personally, every time I hear, I have gone to things like public testimony, right, at congressional hearings and things like that when they're trying to pass a law. And in fact, we're getting ready to go to one now, like next week, on ICE and the impact of ICE in our neighborhoods, to try and get, to not have the police cooperating as, intently as maybe Governor Abbott would like them to cooperate here in Texas. But I will tell you that, who was I speaking with? It might have been Patrice. Yes, it was Patrice. So they did the testimony in Illinois on this very same thing in her, I guess, do you guys call them parishes or townships or whatever your entities are that would be similar to our cities here in San Antonio, in Texas. But they mentioned a man that testified and basically said, I am an American citizen and I am terrified to leave my house because I'm brown. And his testimony was so powerful and his story was so powerful. Patrice said the city council has never agreed to vote on something and do an immediate vote, but on that day they did. Okay. And actually one of our colleagues, Rebecca, also provided testimony as well. And it was also very well, documented and very well received. But we have a couple other hands up, so I'm gonna kind of turn it back to the next hand I see is Boot Money. But if you guys, I'm not really, Is that
I
what you're seeing on
see,
your end
I
too?
see Richard. I think
Richard.
Okay,
Richard had his hand up for a minute.
you guys go
I
ahead
got
and
it.
call because I don't think I'm in order. Okay.
That's okay. I got it. Okay, Richard. Did that work?
I don't feel safe right now when ICE is here in Minneapolis, you know, because I mean, I can go with my PCA, but I don't feel safe going by myself, and you will.
That's awful. I'm so sorry. And I do understand being afraid. There,
Because, you don't know what they can do. Even a friend of mine,
Yeah.
it's
I
the same
got
thing. You know, a friend of mine is the same thing. You can't go anywhere.
yeah, I'm so sorry. That's got to be difficult.
I mean, really. I mean, it's just not safe.
It's not. They're not even behaving as well as law enforcement officers usually do. I mean,
I
this is
know. Really.
next level. Mm-hmm. Agreed. 100% agreed. And I don't blame you for being afraid. Hopefully you're getting everything you need.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Did you have anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Richard, for sharing. All right. Next, Phyllis. Did that work?
Hi, I think I got it now. I don't know if you talked about this yet already, but I work in payroll and benefits. And when they passed in July, I believe it was, the overtime is tax free. I was impacted in my job in terms of having how to figure this out. And I'm not sure if everyone's aware of it, but you're getting, like, when you have one and a half times your regular rate of pay, you're getting the half amount tax free. So you're not getting, like, say you make $15 an hour, right? So one and a half of $15 an hour is going to be like $22.50 or something. You're not getting $22.50 tax free. You're getting $7.50 tax free.
Yeah,
You're
that
getting
was one
half.
of those bait and switch
Yes,
things like
yes,
Social Security being tax free, but it
yes.
wasn't. Yeah.
Yes, so he's getting all this wonderful, let's say, accolades for doing this for people that are hourly wage people, which are the, say, lower income people, and it's not what they think it is. And now this is starting this, basically this year. I mean, we have to report it to them for 2025, which is a huge amount of work. I can't even tell you, trying to create this number to give them. And yes, they're not penalizing anyone, us nor them, if that's not perfect. But then I'm going into it in 2026, and I'm waiting for them to see the numbers and realize how little it is of what they actually received in overtime that is tax free. So I'm just waiting for questions and pushback from people, and it's just going to add hours of work to my life. I know it. And trying to explain it to them that this is based on FLSA. This is not based on your collective bargaining agreements. And it's, so you have to work over 40 hours a week. If you have any paid time off, if you have any holidays in that week, you're less than 40 hours a week. That's not overtime. Our collective bargaining agreements give them overtime for over 8 hours in a day.
Yeah.
I'm like, and that's not tax free. So it's very misleading.
Yeah.
And I just feel like he's trying to get, like I said, the people that are lower income vote, and some are going to fall for this.
Well, and some did fall for it. And the reason we know it's not very sincere is because all those middle working class tax breaks expire
Right.
in a couple of years, whereas the ones for the rich, the billionaires
forever.
yes, exactly.
Forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's just so horrible. Everything. I think the thing that it really impacts me, though, on an emotional level is I listened to a wonderful podcast called History Chicks, and they're talking. I listen about Anne Frank and all that, and it really feels like Hitler to me. It feels that frightening that he's getting away with so much and he's harming so many lives, and we're not able to stop him. And that's how Hitler was able to do it. He just kept plowing through and destroying countries and uprooting people and removing them. And that's what really is killing my heart the most, is that so many people are impacted, and that hearing about that area they're putting them in, surrounded by the Everglades with the alligators. And all of this is just extremely wrong
Yeah.
on
But
every
we
level.
did stop him. We did stop alligator Alcatraz.
Did we? Oh, good. I didn't know that we did that. Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that because I didn't hear that. I don't follow everything, and I don't remember that being stopped. Thank God. But it's amazing what he's just doing. It's just really scary. So anyway, that's my main thing was just share about the payroll issue, more so to enlighten people if they weren't aware of it. And then the other thing is it impacted my family member who I love dearly with healthcare. That's trying to get Social Security disability has been declined twice. It's not working. It's just really hard. And with less federal workers, of course, it's going to drag that on and things like that. So it's just a horrible situation. And I'm just praying for everyone that we get through this. So, but anyway, the next person can talk. Thank you for
I
listening.
appreciate you sharing because I don't think you're the only ones who's afraid. A lot of people are afraid. Even uh, Heather Cox Richardson. I don't know why that took me a minute, but anyway, even she's like, nope, we're in it. We're in fascism now. This is authoritarianism. And I was waiting for people that were very pragmatic to let me know when that was going to happen. So I don't blame you. Yeah, and somebody asked the other day, how is he going to dismantle the government? He's already doing it. Firing 300,000 employees. That's all it takes. So we're going to have a lot to build. That's for sure. But we are winning. We are having victories, I guess is what I want to say. So, but thank you for sharing. Okay, Boot.
Aha, there I am. Hey, Sabrina, I couldn't let you get out of this without throwing a little of the history perspective down for you. All
Okay.
right. So what we're involved with here, from my perspective, is the creation of what's called primary source.
Okay.
And even though primary source might not mean a lot to us right now, to a historian in 50, 60, 100 years, all the little bits and pieces of the things that we're concerned about are all of a sudden going to have a great deal more meaning. And the fact that we will have been able to cover this in the three essential elements of human communication, visual, verbal, vocal, is going to open up a dimension of history that we're still learning about. So as you go and try and promote what we're about to, who was it? Oh, somebody was telling me today, Yoda. Yoda has some sort of saying, you do if you do, or there's no such thing as try.
Are you serious?
Cecilia knows.
I know.
What, do you?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's
There
there's
is
no such thing as, oh, I thought I had it. There's no such thing as trying. Oh, Cecilia, you're gonna
Yeah,
have,
see,
I thought I
the
had
same
it.
thing.
I thought I had it.
there is no there is no try,
No fair AI and
just do.
There is
Oh,
no try, only do.
only do. Yeah, I was close.
There we go. I Googled it. I
That-
cheated.
quite frankly,
Annika
that
put
doesn't
something
sound
in
like
there.
Yoda. Anyway, to get back to a serious subject, this is very important work. I mean, maybe we just call it stories, but it's much more than stories. This is the data that our next generation and the generations after that are going to depend on for understanding how did these human beings get into this mess at this particular time? Because they were in a mess. We'll be out of it by then, I hope, but maybe some of us might not be there to see that mess undone, but our history will. That's about my perspective there, Dr. Chris.
Thanks, Boot Money. And I think Constance, at least on my end, looks like she has her
Yeah.
hand up.
Two things real quick. One, Boot Money, you were right. It is do or do not. There is no try. That was the correct one. And then the second thing is, I think you brought a really good point up because I know personally in the middle of all of this, I've always read like World War II, Holocaust stories, like fictional stories that were based on real things. But lately, I have been really invested in watching videos about what was it like for an average person in the middle of this? What were they experiencing? What were they thinking? What were they feeling? So, yes, I agree that I think historians are going to be very grateful for anything they find 50, 100 years from now. And you know what? We're going down in history as the awesome people. Okay, Constance. Oh, did you get the unmute?
Yeah, I got it now.
Okay,
All right, I just wanted to speak to Hank for a moment. I like the kinds of questions he's bringing up, and his. I think that he's taking a very conscientious approach to the writing piece, and I would just say that these written pieces can be as personal to you as you want to make it, within certain parameters. Like, you don't have to start the um, description of the video in a very formulaic way. If you wanted to say something like, uh, oh, Sabrina Dollinger learned what it was to worry constantly starting July 2025, and lead it into, something like that. So I don't want you to feel constrained early on. Creativity, it will be welcomed, in this process. So just wanted to
agreed.
do some reassurance there.
For Sabrina, I'll just quickly, I've been deep listening to Holocaust survivors for over 50 years. Not single testimonies, but same people multiple times over decades in some cases. So in terms of listening and what makes a quote story a story, which I don't even call these things stories. But it is, yes, informing in the ways that you said, to hear how people make sense of escalating hell and in a way don't make sense of it. And all of those issues, it indeed, not to say that we're there, we're not. But it's still informing because things run, as you know.
Yeah. 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 And so
That's why God made writers too. So
good for him.
And I will say, we are planning on linking things. So, like, for example, the Substacks that we are going to link will be related to the story. So it's not just that you hear my story. If you want to know more about why I'm struggling, there will be Substack articles. There will potentially be other social media or whatever. We haven't fully developed that process, but as Constance said, and I think all the team leads can attest to this for me. I'm a very flexible person. I listen to all kinds of feedback. I alter my ideas based on that feedback. So whatever that you think, if you want to bring something to it that's going to make it better, and that I am always open to feedback because, as I told Constance today, 10 brains are better than one. So I'm all about listening and social media is a interesting devil in some ways. I love TikTok. I'm on it all the time, wasting my life, but whatever. It makes me happy, so it's fine. But the thing is that sometimes the people who capture me are just everyday people that have a story to tell, and they keep telling that same story, like a woman who has this rescue for dogs. I love her. She's a little sarcastic. She tells crazy stories, talks about Dunkin' Donuts bacon all the time, and it's great. It's good for me and it makes me feel good. But I do know how hard social media can be, especially to be impactful and to reach out and grab the people that you need to hear this message. So that's why I'm doing more. I'm glad we're doing more than just social media. In fact, we've also talked about doing a podcast that branches off these stories too. Maybe we have a couple of stories that have a similar vein, and then we have a podcast about it. And really cool ideas are coming in too. So I want to share this with you. Cecilia had a wonderful idea of having like a protest music section of like a podcast where you would play the music and talk about it and like people would hear this protest music, and it's just a fun, interesting, and keep it entertaining, right? So that's what I mean. I'm really open because oh man, watching TikTok tells me how actually talented so many Americans are. They're funny, they're smart, they have skills that I mean, even the Excel file ones I love. I'm like, oh, good to know that. I use Excel files a lot. Anyway, so that's kind of the vision is something bigger than just the social media 60, 90 seconds. I want it to be more. And so does the team. The whole team does. And I think some of these ideas came about before me, but I'm just taking credit. It's fine. Anyway. Okay. Anybody else? Constance, did you have more to say? Okay, you just took your hand down. Anybody else want to share or have any questions? Going once, going twice. Sold. Okay, so as we said, and if anybody is hesitating to volunteer right now, actually, is anybody like, I kind of want to do this, but you're hesitating? And if so, I'm not asking you to like out yourself or whatever, but I'm just wondering what the hesitation is so that maybe I can clarify things. So, like I said, you're going to be on a team. This is not going to be all on you. You'll be part of a team doing amazing work. You'll have a voice on the team. Um, and as I told Chris, I could do the videos by myself. Like I could probably do all of this by myself if somebody just gave me the stories, right? But that's not my vision for this. And I just want you guys to understand my vision is that we will grow this team. And so volunteers that are starting out as team leads right now will eventually be moving up and doing higher level things because the everyday stuff that we got in place, great, we can have new people do that. And then the people who have been there for a while can start stretching out, can start working on those podcasts, can start thinking about other things. Constance might have, by the end of this, like some really amazing ideas that go well beyond what we're talking about today. And so I just want you to know I'm open to that too. And I feel like this is a really good project to get started on because you're not going to be overloaded with work because we do have a good team. So hopefully I'm allaying any concerns, but if not, you can always email me. I'll put my email in the chat if you have any questions about this. Like you're like, I might want to volunteer, but I have questions first. I also put in my phone number in here. Be kind with my phone number. I'm a busy lady. But if you have any questions or concerns, you can text, call, email me, let me know. And you'll be like, well, I might not be available X or whatever. And if you volunteer now and you're like, whoa, I got myself into something, you are allowed to quit. It's totally understandable. I've already had a couple of people who had other things come up. They had to bail on me, and that is fine. I appreciate their efforts to even consider working with me. So if you have family issues come up or it just turns out to be too much, and I do that too. It's called boundaries. Boundaries are good. When I got to step away, I do it when I need to. So just keep all that in mind when you're thinking about it. I'm really excited about this project. I think it's going to go really, really well. And I hope we have a major impact, especially with all these, what I assume will be a lot of protests soon. And with everything going on with the midterms, I think we can make a real impact with this. So that's my 2 cents. I'm not going to brag anymore about how awesome our project is.
Okay, on that note, we are going to go ahead and close for tonight. We're at time, and Bill, I'm sure, wants us to be off his channel. So anyway, but thanks everybody for kind of hearing where we are with the project. We hope that you would consider volunteering to fill in some of the spaces that we need help with. But if not, at least help us with finding stories, because we really need to get we need help with that, and that happens just by connecting with people, hearing what's going on in everyday people's lives. And just like I mentioned, I bumped into somebody in the dollar store. So all right, well, with that, I will go ahead and say officially good night, and we'll see some of you maybe on Coffee and Conversation tomorrow. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
And Cecilia, can you stop the live stream?